And we're live. I, Ben, and Jeff, the SB Spaz, and
Jeff.
Yep. And one of the things
Gridlock say execute them.
Now, in this episode is revealed the origin of my YouTube channel name, as in the Vaselan. You'll see where the Vaselan comes from. So I'll start off the. What we'll do is we'll introduce this by. I'll ask Jess, what are your first impressions of the story?
Well, do you want to do the summary first to tell?
Okay. You want the summary? Let's have the folks.
I mean, I can say right off the bat that this was the first one where I remembered you showing me. I can't remember if it was a picture or a clip of it, but I remember you seemed to indicate that you kind of have a thing for the commander chick, and you wanted me to see her. So.
Yeah, well, I'll go for the selling points.
So.
I always go for just doing a refocus here. Yeah, I go for the selling points. Right. So here we go. The synopsis. The Liberator crew teleport down to the planet Centero and stage a raid on the Federation Communications Center with a view to stealing a message decoder. They cover their tracks by blowing the station up. Callie, however, is overpowered by some of the base personnel she is holding hostage, loses her teleport bracelet, is knocked out in the explosion, and left for dead by her comrades. Now, that all happens in the first 15 minutes. And what did you think of those first 15 minutes, Jeff? Did you think there was a nice quick pace?
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it was faster paced than some of the previous episodes.
Right, and then we got here.
And we actually had like backstory that wasn't about someone who got killed right after that.
Yep. There we go.
And I've always liked sort of that storytelling technique of having where two people tell the story, but you switch between them like halfway through the story or back and forth between. It's I've always thought that was a good way to do that. Kind of breaks up the monotony a little bit.
Right. So I'll read for the rest of this, and then we can really get into it. Right. Yeah. Callie, however, is overpowered by some of the base personnel she is holding hostage, loses her teleport bracelet, is knocked out in the explosion, and left for dead by her comrades. Meanwhile, well, that's not true. Left for dead by her comrades, because the comrades didn't know she died. They just forgot about her. So sometimes you have to watch out with this little synopsis.
Left for irrelevant by her comrades.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't left for dead. I mean, left for dead sort of means, oh, she's dead, leave her. No, they thought she'd gone up there with them. Here we go. Sometimes when people write these books, I'm not sure that they actually watched the episode.
Oh, yeah, well, I can tell you, you're watching Homicide by a different unnamed source, but the DVDs, the descriptions that are on the, like when you go to the episode, it has a little synopsis of the episode. And there's two problems with it. One, several of them spoil things in the episode that are like surprises that they shouldn't reveal before you watch it. And two, some of them are just flat out inaccurate and have things that didn't actually happen in the episode. So those ones are not good at all. So when I have lent people the DVD of Homicide, I've told them don't read the episode descriptions before you watch the episode for those two reasons.
Yeah, that's bad that they do that. Okay, not left for dead by comrades. They just forgot about it. She just didn't turn up. Anyway, we'll go through that. Meanwhile, the Supreme Commander of the Federation's Armed Forces, Servalan, a woman, has brought in an officer with the specific mission to eliminate Blake by any means necessary. This is Space Commander Travis, the man responsible for Blake's original capture in the events prior to the Way Back, which was the first episode. Travis was disfigured by Blake and now has an eye patch and a prosthetic hand, into which is built a gun. Travis goes to Centero and discovers that the message decoder is missing. He also finds Callie and has her interrogated. He sends via the decoder a message to the effect that Callie is alive on Centero to lure Blake back to the installation. Blake foils the plan by arriving before the trap can be set, overpowering Travis and rescuing Callie. Over to you, Jeff.
What's that?
Over to you. Is this so? How does this episode rank compared to the other ones that you've seen so far?
It's the best one so far.
Yeah, it is.
I'd probably give it about a 6 out of 10. I would say the ending was a little Inspector Gadget, with the the Space Commander guys, I'll get you next time gadget kind of thing, but when she was talking about him before he showed up, that was like thinking he's gonna arrive like Chiron from Robotech, who, because they introduced him with like having all these incidents in his record and stuff like that. So it was similar to that, where in Robotech, when Chiron first gets called into action, he appears and his space folds, and then they crash into the ships in the fleet. And it turns out it was a bet between him and his assistant guy on how many ships they would crash into. So yeah, this guy is a little bit more serious than that, but yeah, I have to give you some credit though, Ben, because I know I've said like not to spoil stuff, and you've done a really good job with that most of the time. And when I casually mentioned that the outfit of Avon in one of the episodes looked like Nider from Genesis of the Daleks, you managed to not in any way give away the fact that the actor who played Nider would be in the next episode. As soon as I saw him, I was like, Nider!
So, what out of 10 does...
but he was,
yeah.
he was,
so what out of 10... What does Morgan give it out of 10?
Morgan?
Talk to me.
Yeah. Yes. He asked you what you would give the episode out of 10.
I don't know.
He said, I don't know.
Okay. But I think...
Maybe better than 6. I also think the ending was lame. Just a little weird in the way he said stuff. But I like the episode overall.
Yeah, I did too. I think the only thing I would probably say is 7, and then the only reason it knocks it down, like it has the same problem that they all did in terms of, I felt like that they were keeping the pace and the interest level good for about like 2/3 of it, but then it starts to drag a little bit towards the end, and so that's kind of the thing, is where I'm like, the format hurts them a bit, and I think you can maintain the pace a little better if you made the episode shorter, but that probably wasn't up to the creative people making the show. It was probably whatever the network dictated, so they just had to go with it. But that's like one of the problems so far I noticed in the show, is that they're not always good at maintaining that suspense, and I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I'm too tired, but maintaining that the feel, like the atmosphere of the episode through the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it might also be that
this did for more than any of the other ones did.
Right. So I got some cards here, so to show the audience more of what I mean. So there we go. We got the title card, and then we got. So this is an alien. What is this? Some high tech planet. It just looks like a disused.
I would say about the title that the only way it could have been more of an obvious Dalek reference is if he'd called it Seek, Locate, Exterminate.
Yeah. And then what did you think of the robot?
Yeah, I said something about that's a top security robot right there. there's a couple times where I'm like, this place doesn't seem to be very secure.
Yeah.
And the guards would just stand there listening to Villa like talk about how he's a criminal and he's escaped and he's planning to sabotage things, and they're just casually like, okay, tell us more.
Yeah, but it's like when
You'd think they might have like, turned their guns on him, told him to stop, something, instead of just being like, oh really? We got to know what happens next. Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, it says here.
There was a lot of like moments where you could do the Mystery Science Theater thing with this. I was finding myself like saying the lines for them because like the Supreme Commander lady is like, send him right in. No, tell him to wait. And I'm thinking, no, tell him to jump off a bridge. Like she's just gonna keep changing her mind about what to tell him.
Like the things. I mean, these days you're less likely to have live fire on something, so that always makes something more effective. And then we've got a weird hand.
There's the series robots protocol was supposed to set intruders on fire and then capture them. He wouldn't set the freaking wire on fire, then wouldn't grab it. Like, what?
Yep.
Right.
I was kind of like the politics of it, seeing the parallels.
Yeah.
With stuff now, because when she's telling him to like go and tell the president that I'm going to take care of this or whatever, I started thinking like it kind of depend on who the president was and what their response would be probably.
What did you think of? So again, you got the same disused factory like with bits added on by the production team. What did you think of Squirrely in this one, aka Villa Vestal?
I can't remember what I said. I made some comment to Morgan about him, but now I can't remember what I said.
Well, here's some good line.
What? Oh, I said my guess is he might be an ISFP because I said he's like really good at a specific thing and sucks at everything else.
Yeah.
And that's not a generic diss of ISFPs. Yeah. It's just that that's something that it tends to be. ISFPs tend to be maybe one of ISTPs also. Both can often like focus on one thing, above all else. Like this is what I'm going to become an expert at, and everything else that kind of goes by the wayside. I think
interesting.
I think all SPs do that to a point, but
that is a brilliant observation because
well, thank you.
In socionics theory, ISFP and ISTP are any polar, and any people tend to have a lot of different interests. So maybe that fits with the theory. I mean, if you compare like any DOMs, they're like all over the place, aren't they? In terms of like lots of different interests, lots of different things. Whereas if you were saying the ISFP and ISTP is more often than not concentrated on one thing.
And that's why I start to think, Morgan might be right about Blake too, because like I was thinking for a time, like ENFP, but he seems to be a little bit too like focused on one thing at a time.
Yeah, he's very focused on one goal that's emotionally based and doing everything to get to that goal, to do what he needs to do to get his vengeance or whatever. And it just definitely seemed like an ESFP thing. Even the way
there doesn't seem like there's a lot of any in this show. It seems like it's not really encouraged very much. Everybody is like the thing. It's about like efficiency and following linear goals to get to things and things like that. And so there's not a lot of jumping all over the place by any of the main characters anyway.
Right. Well, in the following 3 seasons, Chris Boucher took over, and I don't think there was much of a change. No, I don't think so.
Jenna changed back to her better outfit in this episode, the one with the pinkish purple Gene.
Ah, right. So yeah, you got this line here. How did you get in there? And then there isn't a lock I can't open if I'm scared enough.
Yeah.
But, and then I'll just put this in for the NTs. Anybody authorized to go through the gate has a physio-psycho pattern registered in the central computer. And then the NTs can pause this and think about think about the and then intercepting it.
Pausing this.
Yes.
No one else can. The pause button just won't work for you.
Yeah, but this is mainly a thing that's interested to the computer people, so I won't talk about it. I like this line from Villa. Any very talented person could have done it.
Yeah, that's another thing that, kind of made me comment the way I did on his personality type, it seems like, because he has those little comments pumping himself, but most of the time he's more self-deprecating.
This might be a glass shot here, where this bit here seems to be not part of the actual background, so that looks like that's been part of like a matte shot or a glass shot, but moving on. And then here was, now in the Maximum Power book, they think this sequence has no place in a drama, because it's a bit of a comedy sequence, so let's go, maybe you can do the voice, Jeff.
I liked the lines he said. It's just like I said, it did seem a little unrealistic. The guards would just stand there and let him say all that before they did anything.
It sort of like harkens back to the fact that originally Terry Nation was a comedy writer. He was a stand-up comedian.
But it is like it does remind me of another Doctor Who thing, because there were times where the Doctor would, trick himself into places, and there were other times where he would actually say exactly what the truth was.
Yeah.
And it was just most of the time it was stuff that people probably wouldn't believe, or, they were taken off guard by him just declaring things like that. So they remind me of that.
Right, so I'll do the voice. Hello there, how are you? Excuse me wandering around your premises, but I wonder if you can help me. I'm an escaped prisoner. I was a thief, but recently I've become interested in sabotage. Let's see if I can get it open up. In a small way, you understand. Nothing too ambitious. I hate vulgarity, don't you? Anyway, I've come to blow something up. What do you think will be most suitable? And then he gets knocked on the head. And then that's what the ship looks like.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you stop and read the lines on these, like, 150 pictures you said, that's going to be too long a video. Just
Right, okay.
I mean, you can do that, but I'll bail out before it's over.
Okay, fair enough. So
I'll transport down to the planet or whatever.
Right, well, what I'll do is I'll just click through them and people can read them themselves. So, yeah, so there's a typical Avon type line. That's the trouble with the heroics. They seldom run to schedule. Right.
Yeah, I remembered that.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was good. The tension with her looking for the bracelet and then just being inches away from it. What anything else, Jeff? What have we got here? You've got, so you like the first 15 minutes. You thought that was quite good pace. There was that typical Nation thing of having a countdown, wasn't there? You know, let's have a countdown up against the clock. What did you think of the Callie reaching for the bracelet thing?
The Callie reaching for the bracelet thing? I'm not sure what you mean.
Oh, there.
Just like the scene in general?
Yeah, is that like good tension?
I guess.
Right. Okay. Let's. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I suppose.
I told you before that it's because I don't have like a strong amount of caring for the characters. Like I found myself like it didn't bother me whether she got out or not. Like I didn't really care. So yeah. But I also thought once she was left behind, that she probably wasn't dead. She probably was going to rejoin him at some point, even if it wasn't in this episode. That at some point they would get back together, because otherwise they probably would have included that line about there's 6 of us or 7 counting the computer or whatever, like, because they sort of established. It seemed like they were said that because they were establishing this as like the permanent crew or whatever. Now, of course, that could have just been a bluff, and okay, now the next one somebody gets killed or whatever. I would have actually liked that better, in fact, if they did that and there was more like surprising things like that. But it didn't surprise me that that wasn't the case.
What did you think of the interaction between Blake and Avon in the story?
I didn't think much about it. I remember. As usual, Avon was sort of like the voice of reason to a point. In other words, he usually is kind of like, I'm giving you the cold hard facts, whether you like it or not.
Right. So on to Servalan's. On this character. So, what did you think of the character and of the performance?
Of the fake Knighter, he was great.
Of her, Federation Supreme Commander.
Yeah, she seemed. I don't know how to say it exactly. Like she was. It sounds a little bit too harsh for me to say she was trying too hard. But that is sort of the first impression I got, that she was, and that again, it could have been some direction to do it that way, but it just seemed like she was like, trying to fit too hard into a certain character mold. She didn't sound as natural as a lot of the other characters. I'll put it that way. But it may be that she kind of settles into the role, because I'm assuming that she's a recurring character for quite a while. I don't know that, but I'm guessing based on how she was presented and things you said before. So,
oh darn it! I've given it away.
but yeah, it was a little bit weird, like the scene with the guy where she was like, "Oh, we're old friends" or something, because it seemed like she went from kind of having that, "Oh, I'm the cold, tough commander," to being a little too like friendly with him, and almost came off kind of like creepy. and she was going to try to talk him into something or whatever, but then it was.
She has an eye for the men. She likes men. She likes men.
Okay, thanks. But as soon as he indicated any kind of objection to the her choices on the commander, then it was like she snapped back into commander mode and wasn't going for any of that. So it was a little bit weird, but that may have been what they intended it to be. So to establish that she's gonna use methods or whatever, but she doesn't really mean it that much. So that may have been exactly what they were trying to establish. It just came off as kind of weird.
I'll put this on to just from a technical point of view. This was what the cameras were like in the 70s and 1980s, where if there was a little bit of you would have these weird, every now and then, green and red splotches on the camera from the reflections.
I would say that the Federation, whatever that's supposed to be, commander room or what, headquarters, whatever, it looks a little cheap. And you could say, okay, well, they had limited budget, but some of the other sets that they've already had were better looking than that one. And so I guess, you could look at it 2 different ways. You could say, well, they'd have a more elaborate thing, but then you could also say, well, maybe she doesn't care about that. She's more bare bones, like not as much about the fancy appearances.
Yeah, minimalist.
So it's tough to tell because her outfit isn't that fancy, but then you can tell she spent quite a bit of time on her appearance, though.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then
it was interesting.
Interesting thing from Jenna, because you're saying this was about the guilt. You can't live like that. You've got to make peace with yourself, Blake, if you want to survive.
Yeah, I was gonna about that. Like, I liked her better in this episode, not just because of the outfit, but because. It's a funny thing to say after so few episodes, but she seemed more like herself in this one. She was a little bit more no nonsense and was like, telling Blake this is how it is. She wasn't quite as sentimental or whatever.
They established that thing about Servalan likes men to be decorative. And then there's that thing when she eventually meets Travis and she objects to the way he looks.
Yeah, I like that exchange, that conversation, you know, where he says, do you find it repulsive? And she says, find it unpleasing.
Like, some good lines here. Travis is an advocate of total war. He carries out his orders with meticulous ruthlessness. An enemy does not cease to be an enemy simply because it has surrendered. That is the philosophy of an assassin, not a Federation officer. Right, and so it shows that the Federation is one of those things that is, it's not like totally evil, or it has a veneer of respectability about it. Something like that. So I thought that was an interesting nuance, that there are people in it who could... So for instance, you don't usually have things like that in Star Wars, for example. It's like everyone is evil. Right. Alright. And just a little thing that dates it. Micro tape. Yes. Oh yeah, here's a bit here. You've done a good job, Avon, thank you. And then Avon replies, at least I'll know what the Federation is planning. Oh yeah, then we have this good sequence. What did you think of that, Jeff? When it was Blake was talking about Travis. Again, a personal moment. So I can just go through these while you give me your thoughts on it. Then we'll...
Well, I may not have thoughts on every individual picture that you have. Like I said, I liked when they told their stories kind of split.
Oh, what about this bit where there was talked about mutoids and Travis's identification with them?
Yeah, I think that was the same conversation that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, okay. Now, in future, a lot of the mutoids are female. I don't know why they particularly made that decision, but the male audience might like that choice. Right, and that's about his gun built into his... why has he got this wicked big ring for no reason? This really camp ring.
I assumed that was part of the weapon thing he was talking about.
I do as well. I think it must be. Because it is a bit. Because he's not. Because he's not someone who's into decoration.
Well, yeah, because when he was sitting, when they had him captured later, then he covered it up like he didn't want them to know he had a weapon.
Ah. And then, now this starts something. He's patched up by a field medic. Man saved my life. And so that's significant, I'll say. Yeah, the man. So you know, he does have feelings towards some. He at least has a feeling towards that man, about the man who saved his life. I'm a field officer, not one of your decorative staff men like Ray. She's a bit like. I suppose she's a bit like Donald Trump, in that she expects all the men around her to be good looking and judges them on their looks.
Well, so far none of them are. I mean,
Well,
I'm not a good one to judge, but I wouldn't say any of them are.
Well, just that Ray guy, I suppose. Well, young. Now here, how do you think this prop was made, Jeff?
I don't know.
Styrofoam cup with some foil around it to make it look spacey. Yeah, where they offer no resistance. That was good. I like that line. Everyone was it when he said, right, the line I liked, what, that was it. Everybody was diving for cover that wasn't there. And that's a good line. It was visual, it was evocative. Is that firing at Travis? Did you think his acting was okay when he retold that story?
Yeah.
Right, and then it sort of recounts what happens, folks, when he said they did a memory erase on me, set up a show trial, had me confess, made me explain that I had been misled, that my political ideas were mistaken. They made me ideas were mistaken. Enough people believed me, the whole resistance movement collapsed. After the Federation kept me around as a reformed character, a sort of ideal model citizen exhibit. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. It's not only... No, it's only since exactly the same thing has almost happened again that he's remembering it. That the memory erase has begun to fade and I can remember. And then Avon asks, do you remember enough to recognize Travis again? And Blake replies, the man who killed 20 of my friends. Oh yes, I'd recognize him. And this is an example of CSO. There's a little blue fringe, that's color separation overlay, as BBC called it, aka chroma key. Alright. And then this is the thing about
the way they use that though, because it looked good.
Pardon?
It's like green.
Pardon? Sorry, what did you say?
Just said I like the way they used it.
Oh, okay, very good. I liked it too.
It looks like the screens to show. That's like a more effective use than some of the things that they used it for on Doctor Who, where it looked more fake.
And we've got this thing again from Avon. Blake, what are you planning? Exactly what have you got in mind? Right, here's an example of CSO. So, it's sort of like, just take a photograph of a set and so it's a sort of like what we would call now a virtual set. Because you can see you see that? You can see the edge around him. I mean, Jeff's used to this because he's watched the old Doctor Who. You can see the join. It also has different lighting from the background, so that's a virtual set, what we'd call that now. Oh yeah, this is the stuff about the detecting of the teleport, the molecular shift detector. And I like this line. Actually, it's not on there. Yes, well, I'm always grateful for a rough analogy. I thought that was good. This is where he's laying the trap. Yeah, he was slightly camp in this episode, Stephen Greif, but he gets better. That particular one at the end where he said, "Launch the interceptors," and then this is where he gives his soliloquy at the end. Oh, that's when he says it. This is where Blake uses the old excuse that I'm not going to kill him because I know how he thinks, and he knows he can defeat him. And then we go in trying to fire his camp gun. And that's his little soliloquy at the end. I am your death, Blake. And there we go. There's Stephen Greif, Jacqueline Pearce. Pete, now, did you recognise Peter Crayers? Is he a Doctor Who person, Jeff? Was he an assistant, Peter Crayers? I can't remember.
An assistant?
Yeah, in Doctor Who.
I'm not sure what you mean.
What, a companion of the Doctor?
I don't know, was he?
I don't know. Who paid Ben? With Ben was an assistant. Who was that? You know, with there was Ben and Polly, wasn't there?
Oh, you mean the actor? I don't remember.
Yeah.
What is it?
Right. I wonder if that was him.
It didn't look like him to me, but, obviously that was later than when he was on Doctor Who, so. I mean, would have been, so maybe he just looked different.
Yeah. Right, so what we got next?
I recognized Niter right off the bat.
Yeah.
Peter Miles. Yeah.
Yeah. And once in a Doctor Who magazine, he described Jacqueline Pearce as an absolute corker. And here's some Doctor Who special effects people. Oh, very attractive. He found her very attractive.
Who did?
Peter Miles, the guy who played Nida, found Jacqueline Pearce very attractive. There we go, 1978. Servalan, the woman in white.
Who?
The woman in white with the full figure. Supreme Commander Servalan. Supreme Commander Servalan.
I never heard her actual name. I just heard him call her Supreme Commander every time.
All right. Right. Yes. So that is Supreme
like
Commander Servalan.
I was like, what does that mean?
Well, yeah. So now people know that my YouTube name, because it used to be Vaselan, and they changed it to my Google Plus name. But in the Earl, it is Vaselan, Vaserlan, which is an anagram of Servalan, and that's where it comes from.
So, what? I don't get that. So,
it was as a tribute to the character.
Which character?
Vaselan. No, Vaselan is a tribute to Servalan, because it's an anagram of Servalan.
Okay.
I'm just telling the folks where it comes from.
Okay. Well, if any of the folks got that, then comment and. or if you're as confused as I am, then go ahead and say that too.
Yeah. Okay. So what have I got here? Channel name. Yeah. When you talked about the intercutting, we're both like that. Oh yeah. Did you like the way that Travis was really built up before he entered? Like you were talked about people talking about Pemberton before Pemberton arrived.
Who's Travis again?
The guy dressed in black.
Because
the baddie
describing people by dressed in white or black.
But he was. I mean, she was all in white. Yeah, okay, the guy with the eye patch and the chick with the big bust.
Oh, okay, yeah, the Space Commander dude. Okay.
Yeah, I should describe it like that.
But you started talking
big
about
bust
their outfit.
Maybe I should go big bust and eye patch. Maybe that would be a better description.
Big bust.
And eye patch.
Right. Saying he has a big chest? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying she does. I'm just saying instead of the lady in white, the gentleman in black, I'm just saying to remind you could say the chick, the well-endowed chick, and then the guy with an eye patch. If you're talking about...
It doesn't even look like an eye patch, though. It looks like his face is, like, partially glued or something.
Yeah.
So, but they called him Supreme Commander and Space Commander.
Right.
So
Space
you could
Commander
call them that, the things they actually called him.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Space Commander Travis and Supreme
they
Commander
did say
Servalan.
Travis. I just forgot that because I'm tired. But
right.
But yeah.
Right. And this, folks, as people who have seen other videos with Jeff, this is what Jeff is like when Jeff is tired. He's still good, but not the full Jeff. A different kind of Jeff. Yeah. And usually when he's tired, he goes NE. So has Morgan got any thoughts on the episode?
I don't go anything. He's wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
Morgan's in the shower.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah, the reason I thought you might like this more than the other ones is more action-oriented. You've got 2 good characters coming in, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of setting it up like it's like the Doctor versus the Master kind of thing. And so I'm hoping that it's not as formulaic as it could be in a setup like that. But as far as what they did to set it up, it was interesting.
Right. Right. So then, I think that will be about it. Anything else to say, Jeff?
Oh, I'm sure I could say lots of things, but it'd be about something else. So.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Join us next time for whatever the next one is.
Yep. The next one is called Mission to Destiny. And then the one after that is my favorite episode. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye.